Yes. Yes, open it up, my boy. Let's see if we've found what we've come all this way for. And shed no small amount of blood. Open it up. Careful now. Careful.
What is it, Master? It looks like some kind of barb or a claw. A stinger, perhaps. But I've never seen a scorpion of this size.
Oh, my boy. This barb is no scorpion's tool. This is the tail of nothing short of a manticore. And an old one by the size of it. Careful now. Careful. The spell will be complete at last.
Hey everybody, this is Brandish Gilhelm, and you are listening to Tale of the Manticore.
The following podcast is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to Tale of the Manticore, Season 2. Like the creature from which it takes its name, Tale of the Manticore is a mashup, a crossbreeding between two different species of storytelling. Here, you will find the unpredictability of old-school RPG paper and dice games with the storycraft of a dark fantasy novel. No character is sacred, and no character will be spared if the dice decide their fate is at hand. According to lore, the tail of a manticore is barbed with cruel iron spikes. There will be much pain in the days ahead. Last time on Tale of the Manticore. Chapter 75 begins with Bazu treating the remains of the two banished demons with holy water in order to fortify the barrier between the abyss and the prime material plane. The cleric had retrieved the water from Aranes's private chapel at the Church of the Sacred Flame, it turns out. While there, he also collected the High Priestess's holy symbol and the bejeweled relic symbol that had originally been used to bind the succubus below the church. When the party leaves the Hezro's cavern, they find, of all things, a gallery in the next room. Being so far underground is not the strangest thing about the gallery. The PCs are surprised to see that all of the portraits hanging in it are of the same person, King Culfrey. Things get weirder still for Catsbane when the portraits start talking to him. When he realizes no one else can hear them, Catsbane decides to ignore the talkative king and the offers of power he makes and convinces his companions to leave the gallery by pointing out that they are running low on lantern oil. In the next space, the PCs discover a dining room. In it is a table heaped with fragrant food. Tapestries ring the feast, with each showing one of the companions in some disturbing and different way. Despite Yellowfly's instructions to touch nothing, Shawnee tears hers from the wall and instantly dispels the illusion that fills the room. Now the companions see that they are actually in a crypt. Where there had been a table, there is now an empty sarcophagus. Where Catsbane's tapestry had been, there is now an exit. Chapter 76, Part 1. Day 184. Time unknown. 1 hour of lantern fuel remains. Party status: Yellowfly, 26 of 50 hit points. Shawnee, 18 of 35. Jace, 27 of 38. Catsbane, 19 of 23. Bazu, 12 of 23. Spells available. Catsbane has memorized Detect Magic, Mirror Image, and Dimension Door. Bazu has prayed for Light, Bless, and Locate Object. Bazu had nodded when Catsbane told his companions he suspected there might be a greater demon the other two had served. In truth, he knew little of demonology, but still felt the terrible sensation of a weight on his heart that had started after they had passed through the door with a face. That seemed like ages ago, In reality, it had happened only a few hours before. He and his companions had passed through the exit revealed where Catsbane's tapestry had been before Shawnee had dispelled the illusion, and were now in a small passage with a low ceiling that made him feel claustrophobic. In front of him was Catsbane gripping his lantern. The light from it seemed dimmer than it had been before. Bazoo didn't know that the wizard was having a hard time concentrating. Armies of thought and emotion battled within him. One of those emotions was anger. Hadn't Yellowfly threatened him when he had said,
"Listen carefully. If you suspect anything else, I'd urge you to share it now."
Catsbane considered the enameled dagger in his right hand. How easy it would be to plunge it between the fighter's shoulder blades. Another emotion vying for dominance in his heart was desire. Azor Azul, speaking to him through Carrick's voice, had promised power. Power he had to admit he greatly desired. Hearing the demon through Calfrey's voice had been unpleasant, but infinitely preferable to the horrible falsetto the demon normally used. Catsbane assumed it had chosen it out of a misguided attempt to sound kind and gentle. But oh, where was his mind? Out in the water. Swimming, he shook his head. One way or another, it would be over soon. Somehow he could sense that his sometimes patron was close. It was more than the oppressive weight of the stone and earth above their heads, or the surrounding darkness. He could feel it in his blood. What was that noise? There it was again. Had he just imagined it? Was he losing his mind? He looked behind him, and seeing Bazoo's grim expression, knew that the cleric had heard it too, and was also trying to ignore it. But that was not going to be possible. This unholy place would not allow them a moment's respite. Soon new sounds became audible. Catsbane clenched his jaw and willed his legs to carry him forward, when all they wanted to do was turn and run. The beleaguered party continued down the hall for several minutes longer. Eventually it widened and resumed some of its former grandeur, though it remained bare and dismal. There were no statues or tapestries, no fountains or decorated arches, only gray stone. And then, up ahead, a pair of double doors opened to reveal a large chamber beyond.
"Courage, and be ready,"
said Yellowfly. No one replied, though the terrible sounds around them grew worse. They approached the heavy doors, which shone a dull yellow in the companion's lantern light. Drawing near, they could see that they were made of bronze, and that some runic patterns had been very lightly etched into their surface. They were also wide open, so that the doors were flush against each wall as they crossed the threshold. The party members looked around the room, while the strange noises all around them continued to grow in volume and number. They were in a tablet-shaped room, about 40 feet across and 80 long. The far wall was rounded off at the corners. Each side wall was scalloped with 3 shadow-filled alcoves, evenly spaced apart. The ceiling, which was vaulted, was some 30 feet above the floor. The room was empty, but for 6 small holes in the floor of unknown purpose. They lined up with the alcoves, but were not in them. How deep the holes and alcoves went was impossible to say in the dim light. Just at the edge of their vision, very difficult to see until the companions entered further, was a slim throne carved from a single slab of stone. There was a figure in the chair, a feeble-looking body like that of a very old man. The neck that protruded from the collar of its rotting robe was broken and jagged like a snapped branch. Resting on the figure's knees was its head. It stared right at the companions from sightless and sunken eye sockets and was framed by a cloud of gossamer hair. Once the party had entered the room, they had spread out without going too far in. Jace hung back by the door, as was his custom. Yellowfly and Catsbane were the furthest in, at about a 40-foot distance from the headless figure on the throne. Shawnee and Bazoo were in the middle.
"Catsbane,"
said Yellowfly. When he looked at the wizard, his eyes kindled with a touch of madness.
"Can you not do anything to make these voices stop?"
Before Catsbane could even answer, the room fell into complete silence, and before anyone could react to that, the light went out. This is the final room in the ruin, and it is where Azor Azul resides. Sometimes when playing a game of D&D, a combat with a dangerous enemy can be ruined by the sheer number of player characters, which invariably leads to more attacks, more actions, and more chances to affect the outcome. Often, a group of mid-level characters can easily defeat a single high-level monster through teamwork and by simply overpowering it. Azor Azul is not that much higher in terms of hit dice than the companions, and he is alone, but don't be fooled. The demon is a terrifyingly dangerous foe. Like others of its kind, it cannot be destroyed on this plane. It can only be banished. Of course, Azor Azul has no intention of letting that happen. It enjoys its time here and intends to stay. It is eons old and highly intelligent. Most of all, it has had time to prepare for the PCs, and, to some degree, it knows their thoughts and feelings. More on that in a few minutes. For now, we only need to consider that it has super-powered versions of all the demonic powers the Succubus and Hezro demons had, namely, Infravision, Create Darkness, Charm Person, ESP, Clairaudience, Suggestion, and Telekinesis. It does not share the Succubus's shape-change ability or the Hezro's special Stench defense, but these innate powers are just the tip of the iceberg, as we will soon find out. There was a tremendous bang from behind them, followed by Jace's voice in the dark.
We're locked in.
Then there was a new sound, a distant rattle of chains coming from beneath the floor. Catsbane was shaking. Even though it was beheaded and withered, he had recognized the slight figure on the throne as his old master, Carrick Melmar. He also knew, with equal certainty, that it wasn't the Archmagus, not anymore. He fumbled with his lantern, feeling inside, but yanked his hand back when his fingers touched flame. He suddenly realized that the darkness was supernatural. Panic seized his brain. What were they going to do? Courage, repeated Yellowfly. He hadn't needed to burn his fingers to understand what was happening. Catsbane could hear the fighter nearby, adjusting and shifting his feet. He didn't know it, but Yellowfly was trying to locate one of the floor holes, intending to cover it with his boot. From close by came Shawnee's voice, small and tremulous. Bazu, where are you? I'm frightened. And then the cleric's reply.
I'm right here, Shanae.
Where? The sound of rattling chains beneath them grew louder and more urgent. Bazu.
Do not push away your fear, Shanae,
said the cleric.
For fear reminds us that we have something worth fighting for.
The sounds became louder still, and Bazu felt Shawnee's groping hand touch his shoulder above the rim of his shield.
Use your fear. Let it fill you with determination to keep what is yours. And may the light of Sadal give us all strength.
Shawnee and the others blinked against the sudden light that filled the chamber, so that it was even brighter than it had been in the glow of Catsbane's lantern. Bazu's holy symbol was gripped in his right hand. His quarterstaff was on the ground. Shawnee flicked her eyes up to the figure on the throne, half expecting the headless corpse to be on its feet. It remained in the same position they had found it, but now its eyes blazed with hellish light. Yellowfly saw it too.
Shawnee, your bow!
He yelled. She obeyed, pulled her bow from her shoulder, and knocked an arrow in one fluid motion. Pulling back the string, she let an arrow fly just as 6 chains burst from the holes in the floor and, snake-like, lunged at the companions.
Entering combat.
Azor Azul is using his innate demonic power of telekinesis to control these long lengths of chain and use them as weapons. But, by DM fiat, I'm going to let Shawnee get her shot off before we go to initiative. With her skill and dexterity considered, and since the target is at short range and is not trying to avoid her attack, I'll say she'll only miss on a roll of 3 or less on a d20. The roll. A 17. That's basically a bullseye. She puts an arrow right into the headless body's heart. But it appears to have no effect at all, and the chains proceed to lash out at the companions. Let's begin round 1. Initiative. The party. A 4. Azor Azul. A 5. Azor Azul acts first. None of his chains will target Catsbane, so, of the 6, I'm going to say that 2 target Yellowfly, 1 targets Bazu, and 1 Shawnee. The other 2 cannot reach the companions this round and will essentially serve only to block the way between the PCs and their enemy. Another ruling I'm making on the fly is that the chains will each get a +3 to hit and do 1 to 6 points of damage. Yellowfly's AC is a 16, so the chains need a 13 to hit. The rolls. A 9 and a 5 means the fighter can parry them with the Silverthorn. Bazu has the same AC, so I'm hoping to roll under 13 again. A 4. Lucky. Bazoo gets his shield up and blocks the whipping chain. Shanae has an armor class of just 14. Azor Azul will need an 11 to hit her. Rolling. Another 4. Very lucky indeed. Now it's the companion's turn to act. Shanae has taken her shot, and Bazoo has used up his action with his casting of Light. That leaves Yellowfly, Catsbane, and Jace. Yellowfly will try to reach the headless figure on the throne. A successful dexterity check will be required before he can do that, however, as a pair of swinging chains block the way. He'll need to roll a 12 or under on a d20. Here's the roll. Oh no, a 20! That's a critical fail. Has the luck run out already? I'm going to rule that not only is Yellowfly unable to reach his target, but that one of the chains wraps around his legs and yanks him off his feet. The fighter hits the floor hard and gets the wind knocked out of him. He'll lose his action next round for this failure. Catsbane is the next to go. He casts the spell, Mirror Image. Suddenly, there are 4 Catsbanes in the room, each one identical to the other in looks and in action. Jace is the last to go. The most logical thing for him to do is to push against the bronze double doors and try to create some way to retreat in case that should be necessary. Although he tries with all his might, he has no chance to succeed. This is because after pulling the doors shut with telekinesis, Azor Azul then cast the spell Wizard Lock upon them. No one is getting out of here until one of the two sides has been defeated. And on that note, we are on to round 2. Initiative. The party. A 5. Azor Azul. A 5. Interesting. Combat will be simultaneous. I'll do Azor Azul's turn first. Yellowfly is now on the ground, and the chain that is wrapped around his legs will try to fully bind him. At the same time, the other one will whip him. Both need to make a successful hit to succeed. The first chain rolls. An 11 is less than the 13 it needs, meaning Yellowfly is able to squirm free.
Get off me!
While the fighter is getting to his feet, the other chain lashes him. And a 19 means it connects, ruthlessly slashing his back while he's rising. Damage will be just 1 point. Yellowfly has 25 left and first blood has been drawn. 4 chains remain, and at this time, Azor Azul directs 3 of them to attack Catsbane's mirror images. The other will choose a random target, but we'll do the 3 first. Catsbane's AC is only 11, so an 8 on a d20 indicates a hit. Here come the rolls. 4, 2, and 16. Amazingly, only 1 chain hits, and a single mirror image is dispelled. The last chain will attack Jace. I guess that means the fighter has left his position by the door and entered the fray. Jace's armor class is 16, so the chain will hit on a roll of 13 or better. A 6. He feints left, goes right, and the chain lashes empty air. Now the PCs may take their actions. Catsbane is surrounded by apparently living chains that loom and sway like cobras under a faker's tune. He doesn't have any spells that might be useful right now, so he swipes his Dagger of Negation at one of the chains. I'll say the chains have an armor class of... what makes sense? Same as chainmail? Why not? AC 14. Catsbane then needs a 13 to hit, after factoring in his level bonus and his strength penalty. His roll? Nat 20! Well, here's a question. The chains themselves do not really have hit points, but might the dagger have a negation effect on them, at least temporarily? With that 20, I'll rule that the chance for negation is doubled. This means there's a 60% chance for the strand of magic that animates this chain to be severed. And 94. Too bad. Catsbane's effort is wasted, and his dagger glances across the metal links harmlessly. Like Catsbane, Bazoo doesn't have any spells that might help in this situation, but he can attempt to turn their opponent.
Begone, enemy of the light!
He declares, brandishing his symbol at the headless figure on the throne. Azor Azul has so many hit dice as to be literally off the charts where turning is concerned. If I follow the pattern on that chart, I see that Bazoo will need to roll an 11 or 12 on 2d6 to succeed in his attempt. His roll. Oh, a 10! So close! But almost succeeded is failed. Oddly, the turn attempt does not produce any reaction at all. Jace, not knowing what else to do, will try to slash at one of the chains. Only on a natural 20 will this have any effect at all. The roll. A 12 means it's a fruitless effort. Over to Yellowfly. He loses his turn due to his crit fumble last round, but I'll allow him to call over to Shanae as a free action. He saw how ineffective her arrow was and figures their enemy must be resistant, like the Yethhound and the Succubus were. Shawnee might have figured it out herself. Regardless, Yellowfly calls out,
"Use your sword, Shawnee!"
The young rogue throws her bow to the ground and draws the sentinel. And then something very strange happens. Shawnee had intended to cut her way forward, reach the figure on the throne, and strike it down. But the moment she draws the sentinel, the sword pulses with a bright white light, and she feels her arm roughly pulled to the right, so that the sword's tip points at the middle recessed alcove. At first, she sees only shadow there, but then the sentinel pulses again, and a small, shadowy figure appears there. In the alcove is another headless old man, like the one on the throne. No, it is the same person, no less a mirror image than the copies Catsbane has summoned. The figure grips its head in the left hand by the hair, and it dangles like a full sack from the slender fingers. In one notable way, this figure is different from the one on the throne. Above its broken neckbone is a purple-black cloud of vapor, roughly shaped like a human head, though longer and with alien features. Circling its brow is a thin ring of swirling, oily gray smoke. Something completely unexpected has happened here, and I don't mean that just in a narrative way. This is not some gotcha moment I've been keeping in my pocket, but a completely organic twist stemming from a previous random die roll. Remember when Shawnee found Culfrey's sword and I rolled up its special ability? I ended up naming it the Sentinel, because those rolls determined that it had the ability to detect invisible objects. At the time, I figured such a power would never come into play, so I changed the ability to include invisible beings, so long as the sword was in Shawnee's hand. And now, amazingly, poetically even, the sword has fulfilled the purpose for which it was created. In order to fully explain, I'm going to need to go back and reveal Azor Azul's strategy. Before we can do that, we first need to know what Azor Azul is and what he can do. I'm using the Lich stat block from the AD&D Monster Manual 1, but with some tweaks and changes. I'm calling Azor Azul a demonic lich, something of a homebrew monster. In short, a demonic lich has some of the innate powers that most demons share: resistance to normal weapons, the ability to create darkness, and telekinesis. Notably, they do not have the teleport ability, nor do they have the power to summon other demons. They do have some scrying powers, however, so Azor Azul has always known what the PCs are in the dungeon, and to some extent, what they've been thinking and feeling. With 11 hit dice and an AC of 19, a demonic lich is a tough monster. But what really makes it dangerous is its ability to possess a mortal victim. Azor Azul prefers powerful fighters, like the warrior Vincis, or high-level wizards, like Carrick Malmar, to possess. This is because it takes on the abilities of the host mortal, and so, currently, it has access to all of Carrick's spells, in addition to its innate powers. So Azor Azul is like a lich, but isn't a by-the-book lich. I've posted a full description on the blog, if you'd like to see it, including the full spell list. But to keep things brief, for now, I'll just mention the spells I think it might use here. They are Magic Missile, Phantasmal Force, Dispel Magic, Polymorph Other, and Feeble Mind. Previous to this encounter, Azor Azul pre-cast Improved Invisibility and Projected Image, a 6th level spell that creates an illusory double from which it may cast spells. That's the figure on the throne, as I'm sure you've guessed. Early in the encounter, it used its innate powers of darkness, then telekinesis to close the doors, then the spell Wizard Lock to trap the PCs inside, and the telekinesis again to animate the chains. Once it had them boxed in, its plan was to stand in the alcove, invisible, while slashing at the PCs with chains until only Catsbane remained. Of course, he did not prepare for the presence of a magic sword that could detect the invisible. And, like I said before, neither did I. To be honest, I'd forgotten about the sword's power until after I'd played through the first round of combat. Now that Azor Azul's plan to kill the companions at its leisure is ruined, I have no idea what's going to happen next. But there's only one way to find out. Let's return to the combat and see how this second phase of the encounter will proceed. After the defeat of Lord Goddard, Catsbane had had a nightmare in which he was visited by the phantom of his former master. Now, he stares in horror at that nightmare come to life. The thing that materializes in the alcove is almost identical to the specter from his dream. It wears rotted robes, which show Carrick's emaciated body underneath, and it hovers a few inches above the ground, with the toes of its bare feet pointing down. Presently, it floats out of the alcove, directly at them, lifting up its free hand. Dark magical energies crackle in the air around it as it does so. At the same time, near to where Yellowfly is standing, the duplicate Carrick Malmar slumps forward in its seat like a puppet that has suddenly had its strings cut. The jagged neck bone points at Yellowfly as though in accusation, and the shoulder blades stick out like broken bird wings. Yellowfly pulls his gaze away from it and looks wide-eyed at what he now understands to be the real threat. The demon lich hovers in the air, projecting hate and menace. I think we are into the true battle now. Both sides will be taking big swings starting this round, and so I'm going to add spellcasting declarations to the initiative section. I'm not sure if I'm ready for this, but all the same, let's begin. Round 3. Initiative. Declarations. Catsbane will cast Dimension Door. Azor Azul will cast Feeble Mind. The party. A 6! Yes! It goes without saying that it is critical that they win the initiative, because Feeble Mind is effectively a one-shot kill. Still, they aren't in the clear yet. Here comes Azor Azul's roll. 5. This could be a real breakthrough moment if the PCs can manage to get past the Demon Lich's armor class and disrupt that spell. Let's see if they do. First up will be Jace, whose weapon cannot harm the Demon Lich. He doesn't know that for certain, so he will take a swing. He needs a 16 to hit. A 1! You know, I think when Jace brings his sword down over the apparition, the blade shatters against it as though he had struck a stone pillar. Yeah! Jace is now weaponless, and his arm is numbed. He will lose his next turn. That was not an auspicious start to this round. I hope Yellowfly can do better. He needs at least a 9 to hit with the Silverthorn. The roll. 11. It's not a great roll, but it is enough. The Silverthorn cuts a line of white light into the Demon Lich, doing 7 plus 5 is 12 points. Good job, Yellowfly. Azor Azul goes down to 40 hit points, and, more importantly, its spell is disrupted. Catsbane will now cast his spell, Dimension Door. He's going to attempt a kind of combo by casting the spell so Shawnee can step through it and appear right behind their enemy. This will give her a backstab attempt. The wizard draws a line in the air with his finger and splits it into a shimmering portal of gold. Shawnee steps through and thrusts the sentinel of the Demon Lich with all her might. She'll need a 9 on the die, all things considered. Her roll. Oh no, only a 4. Azor Azul has otherworldly intelligence. It saw what the pair had in mind and shoved Shawnee out of the way with the telekinetic pulse before she could strike. Bazu may now take his turn, literally. I'm going to let him attempt another turn undead, since his last one was directed at a decoy.
In Sadal's name, I banish thee, demon!
He cries. Only on a roll of 11 or 12 will he succeed. The roll. A 5. Bazu watches in horror as his holy symbol rusts in his hand and then disintegrates into powder.
No, it cannot be.
Because Azor Azul's casting has been disrupted, this round is now over, and we move into Round 4. Initiative. Declarations. Azor Azul will cast Magic Missile. Once again, it is critical that the PCs win initiative. If they do not, it is likely that one of them will die. Here goes nothing. The party. A 5. Yes, a great roll. Now, unless Azor Azul gets a 6, they should be alright. The Demon Lich's roll? Are you joking? A 6! You know this is going to be bad. Even though Yellowfly probably presents the biggest threat to Azor Azul, given that he holds the Silverthorn, there is also a Cleric Sadal in the room. I think there's an even chance for Azor Azul to target either man. Rolling high-low to determine the target. Low will be Yellowfly, on a d6. A 4. It's Bazu. I was afraid of that. Here's what happens. The spectral figure hovers further off the ground so that it towers several inches taller even than Yellowfly. In its left hand, it lifts the severed head of Carrick Malmar. The head's eyes snap open, glowing orange. From them, and from the mouth, which hangs open, 3 black rays, thin as cobwebs, lance out to strike Bazu in the chest. They shear through his chainmail and pierce his heart. The cleric cries out in agony. This is going to be bad because, as an 11 hit die monster, This spell will do 5d6 plus 5 points of damage. Bazu's life is in the hands of his deity now, but there's not much hope. Bazu only has 12 hit points. It's going to take a miracle. Rolling 5d6 plus 5. 27 points of damage. The rays burn a black hole the size of a fist in the cleric's chest. His eyes roll up into the back of his head, and he drops, lifeless, to the floor, with vapor rising from the crater where his heart had been. There's no time to mourn, nor to think about the implications of Bazu's death. This combat is still very much ongoing. The remaining party members may take their turn now. Jace has lost his turn due to his crit fumble last round, though, to be honest, I have no idea what he might have even tried to do. Shawnee no longer has her backstab bonus and now needs a 13 to hit. The roll. A 19. Heck yeah, Shawnee. She'll do. 5 points of damage. Yellowfly is up next. He wants to roll a 9 or better. A 10. That just makes it. The Silverthorn strikes a second time for just 6 points. Catsbane is the last to go this round. He does have a magical weapon, and he's pretty much out of spells. Unless... No, I should have thought of it before the declaration. He could have potentially read a spell from his book straight off the page, but I can't allow it this round. It's too bad I didn't think of it earlier. He'll try with the dagger. He needs a 17 or better, but you know he has done this kind of thing before. Will he do it now? A 10 means he does not. And since Azor Azul has no buffs currently in effect, there's nothing to try to negate either. And so this round is over, and we are on to Round 5. Initiative. Declarations. Catsbane will read Magic Missile directly from his spellbook, erasing it forever. Azor Azul will cast Polymorph Other. I think it goes without saying that winning the initiative is more important than ever. Here we go. The party. A 4. Azor Azul. A 5. Oh no, that's really bad. Once again, Azor Azul lifts the severed head of Carrick Melmar into the air. This time, while the eyes glow orange, a translucent purple tendril pokes out of its mouth and then shoots towards Yellowfly. As a 9th level fighter, Fly has a reasonable chance to save versus spells. A 12 or better will do it. His roll. Oh, a 14 on the die. Yellowfly slices the purple tendril in two before it reaches him, narrowly avoiding being turned into a... I'm actually not sure. Something bad, anyway. Now it's the companion's turn, and, considering the death of their friend, they have got a thirst for vengeance. Catsbane drops his dagger, pulls his spellbook from his bag, and opens it to the correct page without needing to think about it. He reads the spell, Magic Missile, right off the page. The eye in his forehead snaps open, and rips out a trio of searing white bolts, which slam into Azor Azul for, rolling 3d6 plus 3. 14 points of damage. For the first time, the demon looks truly hurt. In fact, it has just 15 hit points left. But the companions are not done. Shawnee swings the sentinel. A 19 hits, and she does 3 points of damage. Yellowfly is right beside her, timing his blow so that it follows Shawnee's. His attack roll? Another 19. Wow. The Silverthorn sings as it cuts a deep gash into Azor Azul for 8 points. And we are still not done, because Jace has picked up Catsbane's dagger and is trying to flank their enemy. He'll need a 15 or better to connect. His roll. A 2 means he is shoved back by a telekinetic wave before he can get close. That's it for this round. I have a feeling that the next one will be the final round. Azor Azul is out of killer spells, but it can still make one more big move. It has the innate ability to possess a victim, and this is not a spell that can be disrupted. It's probably going to come down to who wins initiative. Ready to find out what happens? It is round 6. Initiative. Declarations. Catsbane will read Burning Hands directly from his spellbook, erasing it forever. And here come the rolls. The party. A 3. Azor Azul. A 5. Oh brother, that is not what I wanted to see. Azor Azul is going to attempt to possess one of the remaining PCs. But who will he target? Catsbane was always his intended host, but he's also the obvious choice. If he did target Catsbane, the saving throw would be a 12. Same for Yellowfly. Jace's save is 14, while Shanae's is only 10. Okay, I've made my choice, and I know who Ozorzul will try to possess. Here's my roll. I got a 7. The Demon Lich pulls back, and then surges forward, right into the Silverthorn, the Sentinel, and Jace's dagger, which flash out as one and cut it down, dropping it to the floor. The ghostly alien head above the broken spine has disappeared, and the glowing eyes of the severed head are now dark. The 4 companions stand over the headless body, breathing hard. "Is it?" asked Shanae.
Did we kill it?
Jace looks unsure.
I think so,
replied Yellowfly. His voice is labored and raspy. He looked over to the far end of the room. The throne was now empty.
Catsbane, what do you think?
It's not dead, but I think we've banished it.
So, it's over?
It's over, Shanae.
The young thief walked over to Bazu's body. Now that he was dead, the divine light that he had conjured to defeat the demon's darkness was beginning to fade, and the glow of their lantern light was taking over the illumination of the chamber.
Poor Bazu,
she whispered.
Well, he's with his god now, I suppose,
said Yellowfly sourly. He regarded the feeble, flickering light of their lantern.
We should go.
Jace walked over to the double door.
Do you think that whatever magic that locked these doors is gone too?
Try them,
Yellowfly suggested. Jace did, and found that they swung open easily.
I'll get Bazu's body,
said Yellowfly, after sheathing the Silverthorn.
We still have to seal the demon's remains.
It was Catsbane, who had taken one of the vials of holy water from Bazu's bag. He poured it over his former master's head, which laid on the floor, looking like a rotten pumpkin. Once the vial was empty, he picked the head up by the hair and said,
We'll put this and the other demonic remains in the sarcophagus.
Catsbane, Jace, and Shanae left the room, walked up the hallway and back into the crypt where the illusory dining hall had been. They put Carrick's head, the black and torn skull, and the glassy eye into the sarcophagus, and then, together, they heaved the lid back into place. Since Bazu was gone, and no one else knew the words, there was no prayer to seal the demons inside, but Catsbane took the ancient symbol from Bazu's bag, and Aranessa's symbol too. He laid them on top of the sculpted stone lid.
I suppose that will have to do,
he said.
There were 3 demons,
said Jace.
Will 2 holy symbols be enough?
Silence was the only response, and when a grim-faced Yellowfly appeared, with Bazu's body in his arms, the companions simply looked at each other and knew that it was time to go. Wait, said Shanae. They had already started to leave when she spoke, but she went back to the sarcophagus lid and reached behind her head with both hands. She undid the cord that held Tam's orphaned key and laid it beside the other 2 holy symbols. There, she said. Behind her, the light from Catsbane's lantern flickered. To all of my wonderful listeners, thank you. This second tale has been running for over 2 years, and I am so grateful for your company. My gratitude also for all of your reviews, emails, and comments. Your support is both uplifting and validating. I appreciate it more than I can say. Special thanks is due to the many, many voice actors, artists, and other creatives who have volunteered their talents to the show. Appropriately, this final episode features the entire Tumbledye team of Kai Allen, Kevin Berenger, and Andrew Fling in their longtime roles of Catsbane, Jace, and Bazu. I've had many actors step up to offer recurrent roles and multiple appearances, and I am grateful to all of them, believe me. But Team Tumbledye must receive a special thanks for having appeared in some combination in almost every episode. Thank you, my friends. How can I ever repay you? The next installment of Tale of the Manticore will be a retrospective and perspective of the same type I made after Season 1. In it, I'll share some thoughts on the past couple of years and also discuss the future of the show. But as for Season 2, that's a wrap. Thanks again for joining me on this game, story, and adventure where chaos rules.